Hey everybody, this is Derek for the Grumpy Guy Show, talking about episode number 129, Wendy's charges more to save the planet. Recorded on Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. Tonight's topics: church rules, skipping the vote, and some good news for a change. Stick around, folks, we got a good one tonight. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Grumpy Guy Show. I'm Derek McAllister.
No, I'm Ryan McAllister.
So we may have a quick show tonight. Yeah, I always say that, but, you know, a couple of the topics were last minute and probably actually be kind of small topics, short, whatever. But the first one I've had in there for a few days, and it may end up going a little long, but who knows? You know, there's only so much you can really, truly say about it.
All right, what is it?
But, well, before we jump into that, I want to make a note about the fact that getting topics isn't always so easy when you're trying to avoid talking about Donald Trump. You know, we've spoken a lot about him recently, and
A lot.
yeah, you know, and it's kind of I don't know, it's a bit over the top. It's too easy to talk about him, you know. But we'll talk about him a little bit with our last topic. We'll mention him a little because in a fringe way it does involve him, but yeah, we'll get to that. So the first topic actually has to do sort of with Trump. I didn't even think of that, but you know, what can you do? So it has to do with the Alabama court ruling, the Alabama Supreme Court. It's not a federal, It's just the state Supreme Court, but it is the highest court in Alabama. They ruled that anything is any how the hell did they put it? Something along the lines of, once an egg is fertilized, it's considered a person. And
that's surprising for Alabama.
Why is that surprising?
Because wait, I got it backwards.
Yeah.
That's expected for Alabama.
Yes, it is expected. But the reason that it is expected is also the reason that this is on the list to complain about. Or half of the reason it's on the list to complain about. So, first and foremost, what it means is that in vitro fertilization, if it doesn't work, or it works and you decide that you're done, but you still have other embryos that are frozen waiting, it means that you can't actually have those other embryos destroyed. Because it now becomes illegal. You can be sued, but it's also caused a huge uproar because now all of these fertility clinics who are about getting people pregnant, they're not about destroying these embryos. It's about getting people pregnant so that they have children.
Yeah. They
are all really, really hesitant on doing anything. Because what it means is when they prepare for the procedure, if something happens and the embryo dies, they are responsible and can be sued. If. That's a big if. You know, and if they're, you know, if the parents decide, okay, that's it for whatever reason, whether that reason is the fact that they've gotten pregnant and they've had a child, or they're just done trying because they can't afford it anymore. Now the embryos get destroyed. Well, you can't do that because the Alabama Supreme Court said, whoa, no, they're people.
Yeah, sure.
So the other part of the uproar is companies will no longer transport these frozen embryos. Because what happens? Well, not what happens. What happens if something happens where, say, the refrigeration on the truck stops working, or they get in an accident and the truck is damaged, back opens and loses all of the embryos? Now they've just killed people.
Bunch of people.
Yeah.
That's a mass murder.
Yes. And you know what really ticks me off about this is that the Chief Justice for the court actually quoted the Bible in his decision.
Oh, God.
Yes. And here's the problem, folks. That right there should cause the state attorney general to go after this Chief Justice, because he is not supposed to be quoting the Bible, because there's a separation of church and state. For this exact reason.
There isn't a separation of church and state, but there's supposed to be.
I know. There is a false thought that there's a separation of church and state. But this kind of thing is exactly why there is supposed to be a separation of church and state.
Mm-hmm.
Because now he's using his religious views and his religious opinions to make decisions. He is a judge. He is supposed to be judging based on the law, not on his religious opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where you were right in surprise for Alabama is that, first and foremost, the governor of Alabama is pushing the legislature to actually make some laws that protect IVF.
Ooh.
And the state attorney general has said, and this is almost a quote, "I have no intent on filing any charges against anybody because of this." Yeah. So you're talking an area that is very strong with the Bible.
The Bible Belt, they call it.
Yes. You have that, and you've got two political figures, both of which I believe, I mean, obviously the governor is elected, but I believe the attorney general is elected as well.
Ooh.
And they're saying, we're not touching that. So the way this touches Trump is that, simply put, of course, this gets all over the news and they ask all the candidates about it and blah, blah, blah. Of course, Biden says this is just ridiculous. This should never happen. And Nikki Haley said, no, I am firmly in favor of IVF and the procedures surrounding it. So then Trump says the same exact thing, which, hey, you know what? Maybe he is. I mean, part of what he said was, we want people to get pregnant. We want people to have children. Okay, so maybe he truly is in favor of it. But the problem is his appointments to the Supreme Court of the United States are the reason that this could even be brought up.
Mm-hmm.
They overturned Roe versus Wade, which opened the door for this.
Yep. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah. And
that, meanwhile, is a very overused phrase.
Yeah. But, this is the problem that we're going to continue to run into is, part of the division that there is in this country that's getting stronger is based on religious lines.
Yep.
And, the idea that everything from conception on is a person, that's a religious point of view.
Mm-hmm.
These embryos cannot survive outside of the womb. Plain and simple. So, there is a point where, even though it can't survive outside the womb, it is, to me, a life. But, that should be really, truly up to the people involved, not the government.
Yep.
But, what do I know? I mean...
What do we know?
Yeah. So, I find it ridiculous, and I can't believe that this judge is actually allowed to continue to be a judge after quoting the Bible.
That's just absolutely insane.
It is. And the unfortunate thing is, the only way that there could even be a thought of him being removed is if, I believe, either the governor or the attorney general has to start something. Or it's possible the legislature could as well. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, the federal government could also step in and say, no, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm. But would they?
Probably not. The federal government tends to stay out of state affairs. And some of that goes back to part of the way the... I can't think of what the heck it was before the Constitution, but...
Articles of Confederation.
Yeah. Part of the reason that didn't work is because the states were so powerful and the federal government was absolutely worthless.
Yeah.
And not that the federal government was really strong before Lincoln, but it was stronger.
Yeah.
But to try and keep things separate, the federal government tends to stay out of state affairs. In this case, they may have to step in, but they're not going to. But at any rate, so that's the big topic.
All right.
The last two topics, they're probably pretty small, but
okay.
But at any rate, we'll hit the second one here and see how long it goes. So on the news tonight, just before the show, they were talking about some changes that are going to happen at Wendy's, the fast food chain Wendy's. Just to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're going to do is they're going to start charging you more if you are in line when it's busy.
What?
Yes. And by in line, I'm pretty darn sure they're talking about inside the restaurant.
Seriously?
Yeah, so what does this do? Well, this kind of says to all of those environmentalists, screw you.
Yeah.
Because it's pushing people to go through the drive-thru. And what happens in the drive-thru? Well, you sit there, you idle until you get up to order. Then after you order, you idle until the person in front of you pays. And then you idle again. You pay, then you idle again while you wait for your food. So you just sit there idling constantly. It's not good. But, everybody is so focused on, we've got the fastest drive-thru. The problem is they don't look at the amount of time from the time you enter the line until the time you receive your food. All they look at is, how long are you sitting at that window getting your food? It was a problem I always had when I was a manager at Burger King. It was, we got a 2-second drive-thru. Okay. Well, that means they're sitting at the freaking window for 2 seconds. It took 15 minutes for them to get from the time they ordered until the time they sat there for 2 seconds and got their food.
Yeah.
But they don't measure the whole thing. And even if it's taking 5 minutes from start to finish, that's 5 minutes where basically you're just idling your vehicle. Which, hey, that's fine and dandy if you've got an electric because you're not actually idling. But, a majority of vehicles out there are not electric. It's just, it's ridiculous. And they more than likely their claim is, we're just not making enough money. No, that's not it. You're making plenty of money. You keep opening more restaurants. You're making plenty of money. It's just greed. Yeah, we went to
everything is.
Yeah, we went to Burger King the other day for breakfast.
Yeah.
And we got 3 breakfast sandwiches, 2 soft drinks, and 2 orders of hash browns. And it came to over $20. And I was like,
Yikes.
what the hell? Like 2 years ago, it would have been like 10, maybe 15.
Yeah.
But it was $20. I'm like, holy crap. And the bad part about it is the food is getting worse. You know, we got croissants because we got there, you know, we went there late. So I didn't even think to get a biscuit. I mean, the biscuits are fresh made. You know, basically, they come in raw. They come into the store frozen and raw, so they're fresh baked is what they are. But you know, they call them fresh made because they can.
Of course.
You know, because the government allows that, so whatever. But so at any rate, you know, you get towards the end of breakfast service and they're not going to make more. So I didn't even ask for them. So I got the croissants, and they were just so soggy, and they were like undercooked. I'm like, really?
Ooh.
You know, and then the sausage, it was just really, really greasy. And it wasn't because the oil was old, because, I mean, I know how they rotate oil. Hash browns were, you know, really nice color, so the oil wasn't old. So I'm like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just it's at a point where, you know, if I'm going to spend $20 for 2 people to have breakfast, I'm going to go and I'm going to spend $25 and get an actual fresh made breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, the only problem is it takes longer to get there because there isn't any place decent around here to get a fresh made breakfast. But, you know, and don't get me wrong, folks, I get it. I don't live right in the city. I don't live in a major village. So I understand that I have to drive. But, you know, when you want something quick, you don't want to drive for half an hour. You're stuck with places like Burger King or McDonald's, you know?
Yep.
But I don't know. So, you know, this whole thing with Wendy's just doing this, I mean, it's just a matter of time before everybody else does it. And part of it with Wendy's is because a couple of years ago, there was talk that Wendy's was going to redesign all of their restaurants and eliminate dining.
Seriously?
Yes. Yes, there was talk about that. They were going to eliminate dining and have drive-through only. I'm just like, oh my God. It's just utterly ridiculous, the direction we're going, you know?
Yeah.
And you see all of these, you see all this talk about, you know, climate change and how we've got to change things and whatever. And then guarantee you that if Wendy's decides that they're going to get rid of dining rooms, you know, and they've got to do a remodel for it, which means they have to get a permit, there isn't going to be a town in the world that says, nope, you're not getting a permit because you're getting away from drive-thrus and you're going to drive-through only, which is going to increase all the freaking emissions. They're not going to say that. Why aren't they going to say that? Well, because they don't care if you sit there idling for 10 to 15 minutes. That means you're going to buy more gas. And what does more gas do? Oh, it dries up. Yeah, it dries up that tax revenue. You know, so they don't care. Politicians don't think about that.
They don't.
All they care about is, you know, what are people going to remember, and what are people going to use? You know, what can I use to get people to vote for me?
Exactly.
But I don't know. All right. So the last topic that I got on here.
What's this one?
So this has to do with the upcoming presidential vote.
Oh boy.
Of course, the Michigan Republican primary and I believe the Democratic primary are today. They're happening today. And the news went and they were speaking to some Democrats in Michigan.
Yeah.
And, they were your age, maybe 30, at the most. And they were talking about the fact that come November, they're just not going to vote.
Oh my God.
They don't want Trump, but they don't want Biden either. So they're just not going to vote. And I'm just like, really? And there's
a thing called third party.
Yeah, well, this one lady's thing was her little slogan, I guess you'd call it, was
"Oh no,
short-term pain for long-term gain." I'm like, okay, we're gonna deal with it. We'll deal with Trump winning, just so that the Democratic Party changes their ways and gives us better candidates.
Seriously,
it ain't gonna work, dumbass.
It won't.
The Democratic Party doesn't care.
They're just going to put up someone like Newsom next election.
Yeah, I mean...
because there's no chance in hell that if Biden loses, Harris will be the nominee.
Oh, no.
Hell, I doubt that she'll be the nominee anyway.
Even if Biden wins, I don't think she will. She's not very popular.
No, she's not.
And honestly, I have a feeling that's why Biden didn't blow Trump away in the last election, is because he selected Harris as his running mate.
Yep.
But, the way this touches Trump is everything comes down to the fact that nobody wants another Trump-Biden ticket.
No.
Nobody wants it. The problem, and a big reason for that is because they're both old. Plain and simple.
Extremely. They're the two oldest presidents we've ever had.
I honestly don't think that Joe Biden will survive another 4 years.
No. I don't think Trump would either.
Trump's in a little bit better health, but he's not in the best of health. Everybody's always pointing out all of the problems with Biden, his memory, and, how he screws up people and everything.
Trump's been screwing up the past couple of years.
Exactly. He confused Nancy Pelosi with Nikki Haley.
And he claimed that Biden started, what was it, World War II?
Yeah. Neither of these guys should be president.
No, they shouldn't.
They shouldn't even be considered for any public office.
No. They shouldn't.
But the problem is, it comes right down to the same thing it always does. The ones that have to make the rules about age limits. I'm not even talking term limits. I'm just talking age limits.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that have to make the rules about that are the ones that it would directly affect.
Exactly.
So as soon as they went through and they said, oh, you know what? No politician over 70, period.
Mm-hmm.
That would mean that half of the freaking Senate would be out the door.
Good.
Oh, yeah, it'd be good.
Mitch McConnell should have been gone long ago.
Yeah, and
you can barely stand.
And Pelosi should have been gone long ago. Biden should have been gone long ago.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many of them that are just so old. It's not even funny.
It's not.
But like I said, the only ones that can change that are those that it would affect.
Exactly.
And it's not a good situation.
It's ridiculous is what it is.
Yeah, it's utterly ridiculous. There should be a way that the people can actually put a change in like that, but it's not going to happen.
Yep. It's not.
And it won't happen because we could start it, but the people in power have to actually put it in place.
Yep. And they won't do shit.
Nope. Not at all. So, how about this? I think we've beat that one to death. Let's finish this episode. Be a little short, but I warned you. But let's finish this episode with a big positive.
Ooh.
Yes. So there is a lady, I can't remember her name, who, her and her husband made a huge fortune in their lifetime. He passed a couple of years ago, I think it was, or maybe it was earlier this year, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And he made sure that she understood she could do whatever she wanted with that money. So what she did, she went to, I believe, one of her alma maters. She's a doctor. I mean, she's got a doctorate. I believe she went to one of her alma maters in Brooklyn and said, from here on out, everyone will attend this school tuition free.
Whoa.
She set up a $1 billion trust fund for the college to be able to account for that.
Damn.
Yeah. That's huge. You know, and that's what people should be doing if they've made that much money.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've never understood why somebody like Bill Gates or Elon Musk, they could have a huge impact on things like poverty or, you know, the inability of people to move up the ladder. Yeah. But instead, all they do is they keep the money and they pocket it and they, you know, they do stupid things with it.
Yep.
But this lady, she did this, you know, and it was a shock. She did it before the speech that she was giving. She didn't tell anybody that it was happening. So it was a complete and total shock. I mean, she had the entire student body in the auditorium when she announced it. Just amazing.
It is amazing.
But, you know, if you're interested in that, folks, just look it up. I don't remember what her name is, but all you have to do is look up, you know, lady donates for tuition-free college. But it was a college in Brooklyn that focuses on nursing, you know, nursing and healthcare in general. Yeah. You know, like pre-med, stuff like that. So that's huge. Really, really huge. But at any rate, folks, I'm sure you heard that music starting up in the background.
Good night.
We'll see ya.